were. So I remember being in Toronto at the nice hotel, and I remember it being like a boot camp where you didn't get enough sleep. You went to bed late because you had to practice. You had to get up early because things were getting started. They wouldn't let you know your song options until you know
Night or one in the
there's
morning.
not much time left, so you're struggling. People are losing their voices. People are sleeping like on the concrete
Yeah.
because it's not time to go back to the room yet. People are quitting, and I realized very quickly that this is like a boot camp where they're trying to weed out all the soft people, and they know by the time that they get down to the final 22, like these are warriors that are going to see this through to the end. They're not going to get a top 22 where 5 of those people end up quitting along the way before even getting cut. So that's what I felt. It felt like a boot camp. I don't know what your experience was.
I felt the exact same, and it was amazing to see all these people drop out, and they just a lot of them couldn't cut it, or a lot of them thought it was something else and they weren't into it. Um, and I remember, like I said, just my mindset was a bit different that time. I wasn't there to make friends. I was very, very focused. So I kind of kept to myself for most of that week. And not that I wasn't talking to people or got to know people, but I didn't go out of my way. I was very sort of focused on the task at hand and just reminding myself why I was there, and I remember, like you said, seeing people sing, and they would sing all day. Like people don't know, these are 12, 13, 14-hour days, and some of these people would sing for like 5, 6, 7 hours just nonstop. And I remember thinking, like, how's your voice going to hold up? And sure enough,
And
by
they
the time
wouldn't.
and they wouldn't, and by the time it got closer to the end, they had no voice at all, right? So I just remember being really focused, and like you said, that was the hardest week of the whole competition, even when I got into live shows, because like you said, it's like we'd wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning, we'd get to the theater, we'd go till midnight or 12:30. They'd give us the songs, and you would have to. At that point, it's probably like a duet or a group song or whatever on like the second or third round. You get to know these people you don't even know. You go back to the hotel. You have to learn these songs. Try to remember the lyrics on lack of sleep. Go to bed at probably 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up around 6:30, and get ready to head back to the theater. And we did that all week. So yeah, you're exhausted. You're absolutely exhausted. And you're right. It was a boot camp, and I get why they did it too, because I mean, they don't want people being gun shy once the lights are on you, and that was definitely an adjustment, when once the cameras are on you and all that stuff. So yeah, it was a lot that week, but man, what a memorable week.
Yeah, man. So you make it to the top 22, which is amazing. You now know that you're officially part of season 5 of Canadian Idol. You know you're going to be on the main broadcast. There's 2 million people that watch every episode. That's massive. It's a ton of promotion. It's a great opportunity. The voting is starting, all that stuff. So at the very start, you were considered the dark horse, and throughout the competition, you're in the bottom three different times. It's not easy to survive once,
Yeah.
as the dark horse. And you go on to win the whole thing. Was there a moment where you started to believe, holy shit, I can actually win this whole thing? And maybe that was the mindset from the very start. You're like, I got this, man. Or was there a
Yeah.
moment where you thought, okay, I could do this?
Yeah, there's definitely a moment. Um, the beginning of the competition, it really, I was a bar guy, so I was used to being in pubs and bars performing, and really letting loose, and there was definitely a learning curve there for me with the lights and the cameras and where to go, and trying to be natural,
I remember
trying.
like X's on the
Yeah,
stage.
yeah. And they'd say stuff like, like, your eyes are the windows to your soul, so look into the camera, and like shit like that. And that felt so unnatural to me. And I think the first couple, I looked into the camera, and they would say, like, finish it off with you staring at the camera. It's good for the votes or whatever. And I was like, this feels so weird. I and once I just stopped doing that, and just reminding myself how I used to perform with my band, everything got better. but I think it was pretty far along where I was like, okay, wait a second. I think I can do this. And it was top five. And on top five, I did Karma Police by Radiohead. Kelly Clarkson was the mentor for that week. And that's when I started to get a lot more press, and things were really starting to ramp up. And I think I sort of pushed along midway through that top 10 into one of the front runners. But I went from top 14, I was on the bottom, top 9, and top 7. And after
Ugh.
top 7, I went after, like, you remember Greg Neufeld?
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome.
So Greg and I were on the bottom, top 7. And he was awesome. I mean, he could have went super far. I thought he was one of my favorite singers on that year. And I remember, like, he was like my best friend on the show.
And one of you guys has to go.
And one of us have to go. So
Oh,
it sucks, right?
show business, huh?
Yeah, it was cutthroat. And then he went, and then that sort of, I promised myself, okay, that's never going to happen again, and my focus got that much more zeroed in. And you know what I would do is, again, it went with the whole personal growth thing. I really visualized each performance. So I was the only one that was doing this. And I would have my headphones. I'd have my song for the week. It was my CD player at that time. and I would walk the stage at John Bassett Theater. I'd walk the stage with the song, and I would visualize everybody's expression. I would visualize where I would be at that point in the stage. I'd visualize and feel what the judges would say to me, the roar. And I would do this for like an hour and a bit, and I would just run through the motions by myself. And I'd meditate on it, sitting in the middle of that stage right after. And then I'd release it. And I do that all week leading up to the actual performance. So when I got to performance day, it felt as if I already did it. Like, obviously my nerves were still there, and getting on stage, like, it was definitely, the real thing is something different, but it felt as if I already went through these motions, and I truly believe that helped me a ton, just kind of building that little habit before every performance.
The Karma Police performance, I'd say that was probably widely considered as your best performance leading up to that point anyways, right? I remember that really standing out, where
Yeah, for a
the
lot of
feedback
people,
was very good.
yeah, it was really good. And like I said, that was sort of the performance that catapulted me out to the front of the show. Um, there was a
Good
couple
old
other,
Radiohead for the win, huh?
yeah, and I'll tell you this is another thing. So I would have the producers come up to me. It happened a couple times, and people listening, this is just proof of following your gut. So the two times that the producers suggested for me not to do songs were my two highest voting voting episodes. So in top 8 was an acoustic week, and I did "She Talks to Angels" by Black Crowes. And the producers were saying, listen, they did always say the same thing, like, listen, man, like, I love this song, but it's not the voting public. Like, I'm telling you, I'm like, I think I can do this song good. Okay, like, they'd let me do it, but they definitely weren't shy of letting me know where they stood, and I did it. And then Karma Police came out, and no one was really doing any like alternative stuff like that. And the producer said the same thing to me. And sure enough, he said, like, listen, man, like I said, I don't think that this is the right decision. And I felt it because, I felt I did it well, and that's all that mattered. And another thing that I found, a lot of people were trying to pick songs that were incredibly popular. And for me, obviously I picked some songs that were popular, but for Karma Police and like the whole, like, the viewers, there's a lot of people that didn't know Radiohead or know that song. Um, so I wanted to pick songs that were known, but not so widely known that it's so easy to compare the singer to the original singer. So it's like you're doing like a popular Celine Dion song or a Whitney Houston song or whatever else is really popular. I felt like if you didn't really nail it and it wasn't up to the level of some of those big songs, it was easier to compare to see where you might have fell short. So sometimes I would pick tunes that some people might not have known widely, but I knew I did it well, and that's all that mattered. So by the end of it, the last song I did on the show was Hallelujah. And I thought I was going to get some pushback from the producer again, because it was so different from any other performance that I did. And at that point, they said, you know what you're doing, go ahead. They had no pushback, because the two times that they suggested me change change the songs were my two best performances. So it just shows, man. You got to go with your gut sometimes. You got to go with what feels right.
I guess it is kind of risky doing some songs from the 90s when the show is in the 2000s, right? And you think of who the audience is that's watching and voting, and
Yeah.
some people that aren't that into music are sometimes voting for the song more than the person, right? Like, oh, I love that song, or I love the actual artist that does that song. So
Yeah.
it's tough. But if you know yourself, and I could do a song that's more popular and more well known, but it wouldn't be my best performance, right? So there's a gamble there.
Song choice was everything. Was everything. You have to know your voice. You have to know where your voice sits great, and that is half the battle, And I think there's a lot of people with great voices, and they love other artists, but maybe those songs aren't specifically great for them, but they love the song so much that they do it, and it might not necessarily showcase their talents as well as they imagined, so just because it's not a super popular tune doesn't mean that it's not a great tune. And I think the song is still everything. So if the song is awesome and great, I think that's going to stand out.
So you go with your gut, you choose the songs that feel right, you make it to the finale, top two. You're there with JD Bigsby, who's amazing. He's the favorite to win. I don't think he was ever in the bottom. And you crushed it at the finale. And it to me, it seemed pretty apparent that you should win. Like, based on performance, but then again, it is a popularity contest, so you never know what happens with the votes. But the difference between you and second place for the voting, it was such a landslide that they didn't even want to announce what the difference was, because it was pretty embarrassing for the runner up. So I think it's maybe the only time where they're just like, and here's the winner, like, instead of saying it was 52% to whatever. So what were the emotions on that night where an entire country tunes in and shows their support to you, voting you as the winner? What is that like? I mean, almost no one experiences that.
Oh man, I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about it because I haven't thought about it in a long time. Um, but it's incredible. It's a dream realized, in a moment. And more than anything, I think, I'm sure you've experienced this, when you reach a goal, a lot of times it's just a sense of relief, that it's like, oh, okay, we got through that. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Right. And then, the work really started after that, and then I really got to know what the music industry was all about after that. But it was such an incredible moment. And Hamilton, I mean, even to this day, and it's been 14 years, man, it's been a long time. Um, Hamilton's support for me has always been second to none. And when you're seeing in the finale and you're seeing 2,000 people at Hamilton Place with all these signs rooting for me just to watch the show, it blew my mind, because I was just this kid, like you said, that construction worker in a rock band, just going after his dream. And at some point in this show, my dream became my city's dream, and then that kind of bled over to areas in the country. So I just feel so humbled, and I feel so lucky that I was ever able to experience that. It was such a unique experience, and I'm just so thankful for it, because I made so many great friends like yourself, and 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 it opened up a lot of doors. But just like anything, there could be some people that try to ride on the coattails of an experience like that, and it can only take you so far. So I mean, it definitely launches you, it definitely helps, but from there you have to really, really work and prove to everybody, which sometimes, I think that almost got in the way when I was younger. Is like, I want to prove to you that, you voting in me and you believing in me wasn't a mistake. That I really got what it takes, and sometimes you can get in your own way with that mentality as well, because you're just trying to people please sometimes. But I learned a ton, and I honestly wouldn't change anything.
I remember once I got the boot and I'm watching the show, the top 22 down to the end. And then at one point I was so I was cheering for you along the way, and then it's down to, okay, Ontario. Like, we still have Ontario on the map, right? So I was from Ottawa. I was the last man standing in Ottawa, but um, you being from Hamilton, it was like, okay, now it's Ontario against. I think there was Carly Ray in BC, and then
Alberta.
JD Bigsby in Alberta. So then it was like all of Ontario was behind you.